Well, thank you everybody for showing up tonight. I appreciate it. I do want to send just a thank you back to Jean because she's been just a wonderful friend this last year or so. And I don't know if the community knows how much Jean does for the town of Scituate and everything. She's a real gem. We're very lucky to have her. So I'll start off, before I even get into the presentation. Who here believes in ghosts? Can you raise your hand? Okay, it's a good showing. I got you guys back there too. Okay, who, and it's fine, I won't take offense, who doesn't believe in ghosts? Oh, you guys are. All right, that's good. It's always good to have at least one. All right, so these stats are a few years old, but I don't believe much of it has changed. So Americans believe in the paranormal. So according to the poll from livescience.com, 71% have had a paranormal experience, 34% believe in the existence of ghosts, 37% believe that a house can be haunted, 56% believe ghosts are spirits of the dead, and it gets broken down a little further. 23% believe in energy imprints, 10% other dimensions, 7% no such thing, 2% hallucinations, and 2% for demons. Okay, so a term that is used is EMF. And EMF stands for electromagnetic fields or frequencies. And they are invisible areas of energy, often referred to as radiation, that are associated with the use of electrical power in various forms of natural and man-made lighting. The question is, do or does EMF equivalent to ghosts? Now, conventional science really hasn't jumped on board with the paranormal community, but the theory, and it's just a theory, is that ghosts are made of EMF. The equipment that we use to determine if your house is haunted or not haunted, along with audio video recorders, we use various forms of EMF meters. Okay, so there's a big issue with EMF in homes, and excessive levels of EMF, it's documented, can cause depression, brain fog, attention deficit disorder, chronic fatigue, sleeplessness, fear, and anxiety. It's proven. So a lot of times when we go into homes, what we'll do is we will EMF sweep the entire home and we'll document each room. And more often than not, if a person calls us and they think their home is haunted, we typically find a high level of EMF energy, especially in the bedroom with cheap, like Walmart alarm clocks and clock radios and stuff like that. Fans are a big one. They will bleed EMF tremendously. And I sleep with a fan on. And when I realized how much EMF was coming off just my little oscillating fan, I made sure to put it across the room. And we've probably solved, I have to say, probably 8 out of 10 home cases, the ghosts disappear when the high EMF levels disappear. So, in 1924, scientist Hans Berger discovered that the alpha wave of the human brain is 7.83 hertz. Then in 1951, Professor Winifred Otto Schumann discovered that the Earth emits a frequency pulse of exactly 7.83 hertz. It was in 1952 that Dr. Edgar Miller, who was a colleague of both, made the correlation between the two findings. This term is referred to as the Schumann resonance. So we're, as human beings, we're attached to Mother Earth, especially by this frequency. So we're all giving off this frequency, the Earth is radiating this frequency. So if anything's gonna interrupt that frequency, like EMF, like high levels of EMF, you can see how your brain would be thrown off. I've been giving this presentation now, I don't even know, I've lost track, it's been a long time. And I think maybe about a year ago, I had a sweet little old lady in the back of the room raise her hand in the middle of the presentation, which is fine. I like to wait till the end, but it was fine. And she was so sweet, I wasn't going to say no to her. I was like, yeah, what's your question? And she blew me away. She blew us all away. She's like, what do the astronauts do when they're up in the space shuttle? And I was like, wow, I never, ever thought of that. At the time, we had a teammate that actually worked for MIT. I mean, I'm sure we could have Googled it, but she went back to her colleagues, and she found out that they pump in to the space shuttle 7.83 hertz. Yeah. And that, it was, I guess you learn something new all the time. I had no idea. They did I think it was in the 50s in Germany. They took some college students and they made just underground place for them to stay. And they wanted to see it completely, they were down far enough where it blocked the resonance of the 7.83. And they found that very shortly after being down in there, that they all were suffering from depression and just various feelings of ill wellness. And it wasn't until they artificially pumped in the 7.83 hertz that they started to feel better. So it's interesting. If you guys want to go further on it, it's the Schumann resonance, and you'll find some fascinating stuff. And it also gets into cell phone towers and stuff like that. But that's not what we're here for. So we're going to move on. Okay, so this here is what's known as a K2 meter. It's a safe range EMF meter. It's manufactured by K2 Enterprises. It's out of Caterpillar, New York. This was not designed for ghost hunting. This was actually designed for builders and contractors to determine high levels of EMF in buildings and homes. And it got adopted by ghost hunters. It's probably one of the cheapest EMF meters you can buy if you want to get involved in ghost hunting. And I'm sure you guys have probably seen it on TV if you watch the ghost shows, that everybody's walking around with a K2 meter. So these here get a little bit more fancy. The one on to the left, that's a Mel meter. That's a EMF meter along with a temperature sensor and a flashlight. And that was actually designed by a gentleman in Connecticut called Gary Galka. He was a electronic engineer. He had a company. He tragically lost his 20-year-old daughter in a horrific accident. And he was getting visiting by her ghost, so he thought, and he said that I want to put my brain to use here and see if I can help develop more tools to help people investigate and determine, what's going on in the afterlife. So he came up with this meter, and he named his daughter was Melody or Melanie, and he named it the Mel meter. And it has grown tremendously since this early one. Now he has added all types of things to it. There's more than just a flashlight and temperature. There's a shadow detector, and I'm amazed at how much he wrapped it. The form factor of it hasn't changed. It's just amazing how much electronics he's able to fit in that little meter. The one to the right, that's a tri-field natural EM meter. That's an analog meter. That's not made anymore. They make an electronic one now. This one has really shot up in price throughout the years because they don't make it anymore. And that one actually, that's a real handy one for us to have because that does not pick up on any man-made EMF. So anything that would give off like strong levels of EMF in a home, like a refrigerator, if a microwave's turned on, anything like that, that meter will ignore it, So that's a really good one. We've done some businesses where they couldn't turn the massive printing equipment off, and we couldn't even use our normal EMF meters because just the equipment was overpowering, and we would get what we call false positives on the EMF hits. So we had to switch off to that natural EMF meter. All I can say is I'm glad I got mine when I did, because now they're out of control price-wise. Okay, so this next one is what's called a REM pod. So this one is a little bit different. It measures EMF, but it radiates out through that antenna. So anything that comes close to that antenna will trip the round LEDs on the face of the REM pod. It's a great tool to put in doorways, staircases, things like that. So if you go into the room, we usually like to put one down in the doorway of the room, because that way if something passes it and it trips, well, we kind of know that maybe something has come into the room, possibly could have left the room too. So that's real handy for, like I said, doorways, stairs, staircases. I had a case in California Road, which is down the street from me, and they kept saying, "Oh, we're seeing this apparition up and down the stairs." So we put a REM pod at the bottom of the stairs, and we put one at the top of the stairs. And they were tricky. They were playing with us all night, because they would set the one up the top of the stairs off. We'd run up to the top of the stairs. Once we get up there, they'd set the one on the bottom of the stairs. They had us going probably about 3 rounds up and down the stairs before we realized, all right, we're not going to play games with them anymore. We just turned it off. So once they figure out how to use the equipment and they're willing to do it, they have personalities, just like when they were alive. All right, so this next subject is orbs. So in the paranormal community, it's pretty divided. There are some folks or teams that believe that orbs are spirits, ghosts, and there are others that don't believe it. We're paranormal, we're kind of on the fence about it. We do believe that the majority of orbs are dust, bugs, insects, pollen, anything in the air. I have to say, I've only probably captured one orb that I believe may have been paranormal, and I'm only saying it because of the particular path it took in the video. And it came out of a wall. So that kind of, had me thinking, well, maybe there is something to the orbs. But everything in that picture it's either moisture or pollen. But, there are people, oh, well, there are faces in the orbs, and, I think that's just a case of pareidolia. You look at something long enough, and the human brain just wants to make something out of randomness. And this was a candy shop I did years ago in Lawrence, Mass. And it was so dusty in there. And this is it's just an example of the dust. And now with the new cell phones and the new digital cameras, they're so sensitive that orbs are much more popular now, only because the camera equipment has gotten so much more sophisticated than back in the day when we had Instamatics and the Polaroids and things like that. I'm not going to say orbs aren't ghosts, but I'm in the camp of, I'm not so sure that all of them are. Okay, so another tool we use is a FLIR camera. And FLIR is forward-looking infrared. It's a thermographic camera that senses infrared radiation. And here's a few examples of FLIR cameras. We have the one on the left, that's a E8. That's primarily the FLIR we use. They also come in smartphone attachments, and they're pretty short money, all things considered. And they're a great tool to have. Again, they weren't designed for ghost hunting, but they got adopted by the paranormal community. Okay, so here's an interesting example. This was taken at Eastern State Penitentiary a few years back, and I think Frank actually took this picture. And at the time, he didn't realize it, none of us realized it, but we think we may have caught a cat. If you see in the dark circle, it looks like the outline of a cat. And it's blue purple. So anything generating heat is going to give off an orangey red, and anything that's not going to give off heat is going to be more down on the low end, like the purples and the blues and things like that. So it wasn't until I was going through the images that Frank took that I noticed that, and I actually took the liberty to call Eastern State up and send them the picture, and I just asked them, why, would there be any symbolic reason to potentially any cats being in the prison? And they told me that when the prison closed down in the 30s, it got overrun by feral cats. So they were pretty interested in the picture, so I made sure I sent them a copy of it. So I don't know, is it a cat? I don't know, it looks like one to me, but it's up to everybody's speculation. Okay, so this next flare, this one is not mine. This is not one of Paranormal New England's, but this is from a very close friend of mine, Gina Bexton, and she was at the Burnbury Manor in either New York or New Jersey. And the live person there, you can see her, she's orange, and I guess she said like, oh, I'm feeling some tightness in my chest, and Gina flashed a flare camera on her, and she clicked that picture. So just interesting. I really don't know what to make of it. I initially thought, well, maybe it's just somehow a mirror image of her. But you can see she has her hand in the air, like her left hand is almost like in a fist. So that probably would have mimicked her if it was a reflection of her. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it was a cool one, and we don't get many potential evidences with the thermal, so it was one that I definitely want to show because I thought it was kind of fascinating. Okay, this next one was also captured by Frank. This was on the USS Salem. And this was interesting. So I have my particular flare set up that for every thermal picture it takes, it also takes a black and white. So initially, when I was going through the images on the flare, I looked at this first one, and I said, okay, this, nothing there, I'll move on to the second one. So before I went to the second one, it showed me the black and white version. So if you look up in the left-hand corner, you see the silhouette of, I think might be a man, not 100% sure, but you can definitely see a hairline, predominant nose, and didn't notice it because unfortunately the flare puts the temperature up in that corner. So I was kind of glad I had it to do both because we would have missed that pretty cool little piece of potential evidence. And that was on USS Salem in Quincy. Okay, so next subject is ITC. And ITC works by scanning through FM spectrum. It does fleeting bursts of white noise and static. So the theory is that in between the static, it gives an opening for a potential spirit to maybe give themselves a voice. So let me read it off to you. ITC works by scanning through the AM/FM radio spectrum. As it does, fleeting bursts of white noise and static can be heard. Spirit boxes usually have various settings which allow you to tweak which bands the device scans through and how much of each frequency step you hear. This usually ranges from 1/100 of a second to a second. The belief is that spirits can use the radio frequencies as well as the white noise in between frequencies to communicate with us. So I initially wasn't a big ITC person, spirit box person. I've kind of am now, only because I've heard things come through it that I don't think the FCC would dare allow people broadcast. Okay, so these are two spirit boxes that we ghost hunters use. So the white one is an old Radio Shack radio that can be modified to sweep through the AM/FM cycle. It was actually the first spirit box brought to the ghost hunting community by Bill Chappell. Bill is an engineer out of Utah, and he builds all the equipment for the ghost hunters. And he came up with the hack to that radio. That's typically, if you see me doing ITC sessions, that is my go-to radio. I just enjoy the Shack hack. The more popular one that probably 9 out of 10 ghost hunters have is the black PSP7 Spirit Box. That was again designed by Gary Balka, the same gentleman who created the Millimeter. My radio, I can switch from AM to FM, but I cannot change my scan speed. Whatever the speed rate it scans at, that's what it scans at. The one that Gary created, you can actually tailor your scan rate. So you can either have it go fast, go slow, you can have it go in reverse, you can have it not go in reverse. If you're looking to get one, that would probably be the one you would get. I don't think you can find the Shack hacks out there anymore. And if they are, I'm sure they're like really, really expensive at this point in time. All right, so now a little example of ITC. This is all through a radio. This is again at Eastern State. This is an old teammate, Glenn of ours. He was actually in one of the cells. Give her a light so she doesn't trip. We all heard it, yeah. Go away, I heard it say. So, I know it was a little bit hard to hear, but you mainly heard static coming out of that radio. And the only two words that came out during that static the whole time was the name Eddie, followed by go away once Ashland walked into the cell. And in that prison, there was no radio signals coming through, you know? So.
We were standing in the hallway and it echoed the hallway.
Oh, you could hear it echo, yeah.
It sounded soft on there, you know, but Eddie!
Okay. So this is at the Conjuring House in Burrisville, Rhode Island. All right, who's with us? Can you tell us your name? So you can see how fast that radio is scanning through the channels. So to pick out, you know, those particular two words, I don't think it was radio. I'll just put it that way. But I'll leave it up to the audience's imagination. Okay. So this next one, this is the Town Hall Auditorium in Winchton, Mass. This one was kind of cool. We were doing a spirit box session, and Vicky just said, oh, is there a fire chief here? And through the spirit box, we heard Fire Chief Bob. And then I asked, what year did you retire? And I think we got 2004. And immediately I asked Vicky if she would fact check any of that. So she hopped on her smartphone and she found out that there was a former fire chief of Winchton, who was a prominent citizen of the community, and he didn't retire in 2004, but he passed in 2004. I think the video is a little too long for the PowerPoint presentation, so it's choppy, so I apologize on that.
It was very clear, unbelievable, feel like you had to be there.
And so this one here is at the Murdoch Whitney House in Winchton, Mass. I'm a volunteer for them. So I've had the pleasure of investigating this beautiful location.
I heard Emmett. Did we get that name earlier? Yeah, we did. Right? And are you in here with us?
Was that the service name? You asked the service name?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Emma, are you here?
If you're dead, can you say the word dead, please?
Yes. Lieutenant, up! In dead.
So they ended up calling one of my friends Pinhead. get EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. So EVP is when we use our voice recorders or our cell phones to record us asking questions, giving a moment for pause, and then asking another question, and we usually do it in like what we call burst sessions. We'll do it probably no more than 2 minutes. And with any luck, what happens is we will get answers to some of our questions in the moment of pause. And it's not audible to our ears at the time, but on playback, it's imprinted on the recorder. It's different from what's called a disembodied voice. Disembodied voice is something that you will hear audibly with your own ear. Very, very, very rare. I've only maybe have gotten 3 or 4 disembodied voices. I was actually lucky enough to get one in Scituate. I can't say where. So that's what differentiates between an EVP and a disembodied voice. EVP only shows up in review on the recorder. So, as investigators talking with other paranormal investigators, did you get EVPs? You were at the Murdoch Whitney last night. Did you get EVPs? Oh, I got a few EVPs. Oh, what class did you get? So we broke it down, and there's 3 different classes. There's A, B, and C. There's nothing official to this. It's just kind of the lingo if you've been in it long enough. So Class A, this type of EVP is loud, clear, and is of very high quality. The voice is easily understandable and does not need any enhancement or amplification. Class A EVPs are also often, but not always, in direct response to a question being asked. Class B, this is the most common type of EVP. This type of EVP is of somewhat lower quality and clarity than a Class A EVP, but it's still very audible. Class B EVPs often do need some type of enhancement or amplification to be heard clearer. The voice may not be clear enough to be totally understood, or there may be some disagreement as to what it is saying. Class B EVPs are often not in direct response to a question. So when you're playing back EVPs, especially as a group, everybody will interpret it. Maybe if it's not a clear Class A, everybody will interpret it a little bit differently. Like, oh, I thought it said boat. Well, I thought it said goat. I thought it said tote. One of those things. So nobody's really right, nobody's really wrong. It's very tough to distinguish what's being said. I typically don't like to enhance or change the sound clips, but you get so frustrated because you want to know what's being said. So I do eventually have to get in there and try and dig out what's being said. But that would be considered a Class B EVP. So now Class C EVP, this is the lowest quality of EVP. With a Class C EVP, even the best enhancements in amplification may not be sufficient to make the voice audible or clear. And there even debate as to whether or not an EVP is present. So that's just one of those things, we know it wasn't one of us, but something made some type of maybe a vocalization, we don't know. Typically what we'll do is we will run more than one recorder when we're doing EVP sessions. The mark of a true EVP is they'll pick the device they want to imprint their voice on. You could have, and I've had this happen, you could have 10 of them lined up on a table. All 10 of them, you hit play, you hit record, you go back and play it back. There's a voice on only one of them that answered the question. And that's the mark of a true EVP. Here are a few of some recorders that we use. We use a lot of the Zoom products. That one is a Zoom H4n. It's a studio grade recorder. You could hear, it's so clear what you can hear. It's almost a little too clear. Like sometimes when we're inside, we're actually hearing conversations from people outside that we're not even picking up, you know. Other one is a little bit of an older one. It's a Panasonic DR60. That is one that primarily you'll see all the people who have a ghost hunting show use. It's a very, very early model recorder, and it definitely has a knack for picking up EVPs. I think those came out in 1998, 1999. I think it was like a $20 recorder. It's grown such a reputation in the paranormal field. You can't even touch one now for under $2,000. If I had known that back in '98, you know, I would have stopped. Okay. So, I got some EVPs for you. I'm going to play them for you. I tried to get the clearest ones I had. We'll just see. I put captions there. We'll just go through them and we'll see how they sound. So I repeated that twice. So we were investigating the Clinton train tunnel, and we kind of, typically what we do with this particular location, because the tunnel is not that long, we'll just start at one end, hit record, we'll walk to the other end, stop it, play it back. So at one point, I forget whether we were on the way in or on the way coming back, but we got pretty clear get out. So I call that my Mickey Mouse EVP. To me, it sounds like Mickey. I'll play it again, but and you folks have to understand. There was a point in time, Frank, myself, and the team, we were going to this tunnel every weekend for a whole summer, and
We want to buy it.
and the first thing we would do when we get there is we would unload our gear at the entrance of the tunnel, and we would just introduce ourselves. Hey guys, it's Joe again, it's Frank again, it's Sarah again. And it was shortly after one of the introductions, somebody was kind enough to respond back to me. And I didn't hear that at the time. It was on playback. And only one of the recorders picked it up. I think we had probably about 3 or 4 recorders run as well that day. Okay, this is a new one. So I like to put different. I've been running the same presentation for many years, and I do want to change some of the EVPs up, but I don't really get a lot of Class A's. They're very hard to come by. But I changed this one up just in case somebody had seen the presentation before. At least they can see something new. Or I should say, hear something new. This was a National Guard armory in Concord, Mass. Was never investigated by any team. We were the first team allowed in there.
Alright, so this is nothing from the red light, but the same way here, if we're going to make you oversolicited, you can leave us a message. I know what type of missile that is. Can you tell me what type of missile that is? It's an Air 2A. At what supersonic speed does it travel? Okay.
So they when I asked them, I was just reading off the card because I had no clue what type of missile that was. I was just reading off the card on it. And I just asked them, I said, this is an Air 2A, it's got a nickname Genie missile. Can you tell me how fast it travels? I'll play it again.
Alright, so this is nothing from the red light, but the same way here, if we're going to make you oversolicited, you can leave us a
Class A, and it was intelligent response.
Alright,
Okay, this is probably one of the craziest but yet best locations as a paranormal investigator you'll probably ever get to experience. This is the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. And it was so crazy that I could do a whole presentation just on that location alone. It was just nuts. The Trans-Allegheny, they have a reputation of performing the most lobotomies ever. Yeah. It's in Kentucky, or I think it's Kentucky. So there were two EVPs in that clip. One was a male voice that said help, and the second one was a female voice that said patient. You can actually hear the EVPs clearer than us speaking, which is kind of crazy. Hear how muddled I sound asking the question? Oh, I wanted to start that from the beginning. So actually there were three EVPs in that clip. And this was in the lobotomy recovery area of the asylum. So you can barely make out what we're saying for questions. So I asked, are you recuperating from your surgery? And they responded with, yeah. I forgot that was even on there. Okay, this is in the USS Salem. This is the surgery room. I asked who the chief of surgery was, and we got the name of the day. We had the documentarians on the ship try and find a doctor that went by the name McVeigh, but they couldn't find it. So a few months later, we went back to the USS Salem, and we were back in the surgery room at some point in the night, and we were just doing a little skit. We had Vicky and her sister get up on the operating table, just to see if we could maybe elicit some type of response, and this is what we got. This is like maybe 2 months after that first round there.
Now, I don't know if anyone can see me here, but I'm ready to perform surgery, and I am not a qualified doctor. Anybody here that can tell me what I need to do? Please help them. Please help me. I'll read that. Hold on. Can you please help her? Or me? What was that lady that was just watching? I'll tell you all about your time. And I'll be on that whole thing. Doctor, okay. What do you think of this? Do you approve? Okay,
I sounded that over
I
there.
know you can see me here, but I'm ready to perform surgery. And I am not a qualified doctor. Anybody here that can tell me
There's two
what I need to
people.
do? Please help them. Please help me. I'll read that. Hold on. Can you please help her? Or me? What was that lady?
That woman was one.
I'll tell you all about your time. And I'll be on that whole thing. Doctor, okay. What do you think of this? Do you approve? Can I be scared? What type of anesthesia should we use?
I called out Dr. McVeigh and I asked him if he approved, and then I asked like, what type of anesthesia should we use, and then the response kind of speaks for itself. Okay, this is interesting. This is Rolling Hills Asylum. This is out in East Bethany, New York, and this is one where when you go visit the asylum, ghost hunt the asylum, the owner, Sharon, will, say, run your recorders in a certain area and you might get to hear the screaming lady. She was almost kind of like my white whale. Every time I went out there, I was hoping to catch her. I never did. I spent many hours out there, did many trips out there, never was able to get her. Supposedly she hung around down near the kitchen and the morgue area of the asylum. This was a public event that I went to. I was actually running some ghost hunts for a ghost hunting company. And I was actually up in the infirmary ward, which is upstairs. So I wasn't completely planning on getting what I got. But this is another example of, we had 10 recorders running in that room because it was a public event. So I had 4 of my own, and people in the crowd were running another 6. And this is what we got, only on one recorder. That was unbelievable. That was unbelievable. You can actually hear the voice going hoarse. I don't have any explanation for it.
Do you have owls in there at all?
Hmm?
Owls in that place? When we went there.
You won't with me on this one. Okay, so I know a few people recognize this building. Okay, this is the Emory Estate in Weymouth. This is one of the last EVPs I got captured, so I wanted to put it in the presentation. And Derek was with me that night. Jeannie weren't there.
That's you. Can you just say your name? Please.
Did you notice a little hint of an Irish brogue? Anybody pick up on the Irish brogue? Yeah. It's at the very, very end of the night. I went upstairs to turn off the lights. And there's one thing. So, I mean, I've personally never been scratched. So I can't say whether the phenomenon is real or not. If somebody told me they were scratched, I would probably believe them. But until it happens to me, I can't relate, you know? So, and I've been doing this since like my 12th year into it. And I've always heard people say, oh, I got that cobweb feeling, I got that cobweb feeling. Well, prior to this night, I've never gotten that cobweb feeling. This particular night, the very end of the public ghost hunt, I went upstairs to turn the light off in one of the bedrooms, and as I walked through the door frame, I felt like I just walked right into a cobweb. And I said to myself, I've been in and out of this room half a dozen times tonight. There's no way a spider had a chance to build that big of a cobweb. As soon as it happened, I had my recorder with me, I pulled my recorder out, and I just hit play, and I said, who's here with me? And that was the response I got. I can play it again, for sure.
If that was you, can you just say your name?
So now we have to do some homework and see if we can find out if there was a Brandon that had any relationship to that house. Okay, this one was a game changer for me personally. This is the S.K. Pierce Mansion in Gardner, Mass. And if anybody's watched a ton of the ghost shows, I'm sure you've seen a show that probably showcased this particular mansion. This particular EVP I'm about to play for you is something that completely blew my mind because we caught the recording of an inanimate object, so to speak. It wasn't like a voice of a person, but I'll play it. You guys will get it as soon as I play it. We caught a pool break in EVP, and I had two recorders side by side on that bureau, and only one of them picked up the pool break. So that one, I gotta think about that, you know, why isn't it in it, you know, is that a residual? There was a pool table there up until the 1970s. Just very interesting, kind of really gets you thinking. Okay, so that's the end of the slides. I typically ended on that one because, you know, people who know me pretty much think I'm nuts, so. As a courtesy to Gene, and because we did some locations in Scituate, I did put together 2 clips. I cannot tell you where in Scituate they came from, but I can tell you they did come from Scituate. So I'll just, there are 2 more clips, they're 3 minutes each, and then we can wrap up and take questions or chat, whatever you folks feel like doing. And this is actually an example of a disembodied voice. Can you knock again?
I'm hearing voices, but some of them are hard to make out.
It's kind of fun, yeah. Can
you want to try and knock pattern?
Tony, if that was you knock on the outside of the wall,
We were hearing knockings on the
say that was you in that recorder, just run up to it and say, it was me.
I apologize to the parents here. It's very common to get swore at.
Joe gets it all the time.
Tony,
All the time.
can you put your hand on Vicky's?
Come? Something come.
Vicky, Tony, can you put your hand on Vicky's shoulder?
George?
If you're in there with Vicky, can you get her attention? Can you touch her?
Nails? Something nails.
Can you touch her shoulder on top of her head?
We had one of our team members isolated in a closet while we're doing the EVP session.
Did you hear that again?
That was this wall. Yeah, I'll say it's a little different than wind sounds. Can you finish this knock for me, please?
It's about time.
You said no. I
Are you sure I have my stomach?
Oh, is that this?
My stomach growled, but I don't think it sounded like no.
I don't know, male voice saying no. Yeah, that's great, yeah.
I don't think that was my stomach.
It'll be on that.
Wonderful. Well, that's typical for you too.
Oh, wow.
So that was a disembodied no.
Let me try that again, though.
One more clip.
Creating spirits that might be here in the last 12 months. 70 when this place is open, and there are a lot of strange people I walk through here. Well, I think it was more. Yeah, well, are you? I'm not sure. Yeah. It's kind of serious. Anybody may actually have been buried out from the back with the land right around the house, because back then, we know they just wanted to get them buried right away. But it's part of the James family. Yeah.
Holy crap!
What the hell? Yes!
Do it. That's a scream. That's a scream.
Are you afraid to connect with us because you
I'm afraid. Everyone's over here. There's no reason more. That sounds more. No. That's a monster. That was a long time. Yeah. Okay.
That was a long time ago.
Wow. The scream's quite.
What were you asking us?
Are you afraid of that being as being contagious or them being contagious?
No, just I don't know. Jesus. So you gotta figure, we investigate anywhere between 6, 8, 8, in certain cases 10 hours. So when you hear something like that, at the end of the night, you get very excited, you know, because that's what you're there for. And then sometimes you go and you don't get anything. And it's just how it goes.
And then you teed off.
But that's it, all
What
done.
was Diane in response to?
I asked if they thought they were still contagious. Yeah,
Well, you asked him, right?
correct.
Teed off.
So we can do questions, or I have nowhere to go. So I told Gene I'll stay till as long as the lights are on. So let's go for it.
We just moved here, but we've heard that the Bridgewater Triangle
Yeah.
is very active,
Yes, it is.
so that's why I was asking.
I've had the pleasure of investigating the Bridgewater Triangle. It's massive. There's so many, I could never do it justice. There's a documentary out. There's plenty of documentaries. Actually, if you Google the Bridgewater Triangle, you just make yourself comfortable. Right? I mean, there's stories of everything, not only ghosts, but cryptids. It just goes on and on and on and on. Warren Coleman, a cryptozoologist, there's a lot of stuff by him on the Bridgewater Triangle. I love when a home case comes in and a home is down in that Bridgewater Triangle area, because typically it means we're going to get some pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh, you're welcome. Yeah. Hockomock Swamp, I mean, this site is a Bigfoot. And, oh, yeah. Big black puma cats, I mean, it goes on and on and on. I'm going to get to everybody, so go ahead. I know you.
Do you get rid of them, the ghosts?
No, we do not do that. We will help a family document, and in all honesty, I would conservatively say maybe 1 out of 10 homes we do is actually haunted. Usually it can be resolved by clearing up the EMF in the house. Yeah.
A few of them asked for help. What, do you know why, what?
It's just one of those things, you know. I feel bad, you know, and I didn't play some of them because they weren't completely clear. Because as you can see, it's hard to hear them, you know. But I've had children's spirits in EVP, and I'm a dad, and it's heartbreaking, but you know, it's one of those things. Yeah.
Should become afraid.
Never. I wouldn't do it if I was afraid. I'm more fascinated than afraid. Yeah.
We're the first two to walk in the black room.
Okay. It's a big crowd. I thought I'd get a few more.
Do you find, along that vein, do you find that most of them are malevolent or benevolent, or neither?
Neither. The worst thing I can ever say as far as doing this is I've been called some pretty derogatory comments. Yeah. And that's the worst. You know, so sticks and stones, you know.
In most of cases, did you find ghosts to be discovered or do they want to be left alone? What is your impression?
Well, the ones that tell us to get out, they want to be left alone. I mean, clearly.
But
you
we
know.
don't leave.
No, we don't actually leave, but yeah.
So most of the cases you hear that kind of get out kind of message?
I've gotten get out a few times. Yep, absolutely. Gene can vouch for me. Derek can vouch for me. I treat spirits with the utmost respect. You guys watch the clips. I just ask questions, and I don't provoke. And just, I guess some of them either they like me or they don't. You know, I really don't know how else to put it. You know. But I never demand anything from them. I also find, I think you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, right? So.
I have one more question. I heard that if they're around, they really suck the energy
Yes, yes, and another thing that is true is a phenomenon called battery drain. If they're smart enough, they will drain the battery in our equipment. Yeah, I had that happen plenty of times. And we're okay with it, you know, we usually say, hey, feel free, drain our batteries, just give us something good. Just give us something, that's all we ask, give us something good. Go ahead.
Can you ever see them with just your eyes without equipment?
So Frank and I have both, and it's only been one time, I saw I've never seen an apparition. I've never seen a full-blown apparition. I did see a shadow person at the Conjuring House. It was humanoid in form. I couldn't make out whether it was male or female. I could just make out head, torso, and the fact that it had arms and legs, and it just went from across the room from one side to the other. Yeah.
One other question. Did the man who created that equipment, did he ever contact his daughter?
Yeah, he has. Yes. Yeah. He was on an early episode of the Ghost Adventures. Zach Baggins and those guys did that. You know, TV. What I just showed you is the real stuff. You know what I mean? But Gary was on one of those early episodes, and when he tests his equipment out before he sells it, that's his main goal: see if he can get a hold of his daughter Mel. Yeah.
How about cemeteries? Will you find?
Least haunted. Yeah, cemeteries. Yeah, absolutely least haunted. Yeah, not that you won't get anything there, but they are the least haunted. Yeah.
We walked the whole cemetery, we got a cat called the Waltham, was it? One night, we were there in that building.
I understand. Oh, yeah, I mean, we've done EVPs at grave sites, for sure, but cemeteries are the least haunted locations. Yeah.
Yeah, do you think, when they're saying get out, do you think they're confused? Like, they don't even know that they're past?
It's possible, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I got a child's voice saying mom when one of the female investigators was asking a question. I mean, if that didn't break my heart, nothing else did. I mean, it was clear as day, just a child, mom. It was the sweetest thing, you know. Did they think one of the teammates was her mom or reminded her of her mom? I don't know. There's so many. I would have thought by this point in time I'd have more answers, and I just have more questions.
I just was wondering if, when you went to the Clinton Bridge, did you go to that location because there's reports of
100%. Yeah, I bought a piece of equipment from a gentleman in Groton. It was an infrared camera, and I just asked him. I said, and he's like, oh, Clinton train tunnel. He's like, you're gonna love it. We spent a whole summer there. It was nuts. Almost every time we went to that tunnel, we would get EVPs. It was crazy.
Have you seen objects move?
Yes. Only one time in 13 years that I seen. We call that a poltergeist activity. And I was in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and I watched a glow stick shoot off of a table. After we asked it to do it, it took about 20 minutes later for them to actually do it. We forgot that we asked them to do it, so much time had gone by. Yeah, so one time. That's how rare, paranormal occurrences happen. So the fact that if you have a television show, it's impossible to have a popular show without fabricating something, because more often than not, we go to places and we don't get anything at all. If we get one EVP a night, we had a great night.